Hi, and welcome to another episode of Obsessed by Everything Bravo. My name is Meredith, and I am your host on the journey through the Real Housewives. As always, we are watching the Real Housewives in chronological order with a modern day lens so that we can get a new perspective and study these women. There's my new introduction, I guess. Today we are talking about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 2, Episode 8, The Opposite of Relaxation. So this is actually the 25th episode of Beverly Hills. I don't know why that's relevant. It's not, and it was released on October 24th, 2011. So when we last left our people, we had a charity event for Camille where Brandi went and nobody talked to her the whole night. Except for, well, I guess Adrienne talked to her and I hope Camille talked to her, but Kyle and Lisa just weren't interested in talking to her at all, and that's weird to me. I don't know what else to say. It's weird, it's rude, but whatever. That's all gonna change here in a few minutes, or by the end of this episode. So we open up with Lisa, and she's driving over to Adrienne's house. Well, you just walk over, babe. But she's there to give Adrienne a cooking lesson. Now, my question is, why can't Bernie give her a cooking lesson? And also, Bernie's just like a little bitch. I don't like him. I mean, I'm just being honest. I don't like him. He's always got something shitty to say. But why can't he give Adrienne a cooking lesson? Like, I guess giving her one cooking lesson is not going to like make him lose a job. So just show her how to cook. Jesus. And Adrienne says that Lisa always gives her a hard time about not knowing how to cook. So she was like, okay, well, come and show me how to cook. And then Bernie's just like in the shadows, just like giving side eye to Lisa. It's annoying. And sorry, I was getting ready to die from a cough. So this is a scene that's pretty famous because Lisa tells Adrienne to wash her chicken, and she puts hand soap on it, and it was also hand soap that had lotion in it. So I hope that you enjoy that, like, I don't know, lavender scented hand soap or whatever it was on your chicken. It's not really that interesting of a scene. It is a funny scene. It's like a hijinks into scene. Lisa tells us that she hopes that Adrienne knows her way around the bedroom better than she knows her way around the kitchen. I doubt it. Also, she like doesn't. The reason she says that is because she doesn't know where anything is. Like, she has no idea where any of the food is, and it's like, do you eat? Like, you're telling me you've never just like had to feed yourself like a carrot or something or a banana? Like, do you not know where any of this food is? It's so strange. But I guess, I mean, it's for everything that I say that Adrienne is like so much like the audience, like the voice of the audience, and she's like the normal person. And I've said that for, this whole podcast and for years. It's in these moments that you can tell, oh, she's like a billionaire. Like, she doesn't know where the salt and pepper are. She doesn't know where they keep lemons. And it's also because, like, why would she know that when obviously she has a full-time chef that probably, if not lives with them, is, comes over for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's like, why does she need to know that? I don't know. I just think it's weird. It's not weird to have staff. To me, it's weird to not know where your things are. I don't know. But that's just every time something like that happens, it's like, oh yeah, Adrienne is one of those. Also, she's got Mar-a-Lago face now, so if you want a jump scare, you need to, look that up. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So I'm on her Instagram. First of all, you will not be able to tell what she looks like actually because she filters the fuck out of her pictures. But she posted on November 27th the scene where she's washing the chicken. Like, Lisa's laughing at her. Like, what a weird thing to post. But I guess, because she was cooking a chicken. I don't know. I honestly don't know what she's doing right now. Oh, she's a supporter of LGBTQ rights. So fingers crossed it's just the Mar-a-Lago face and not the Mar-a-Lago voting history. I started watching that Netflix show about Palm Beach. I can't remember what it's called. I just took a screenshot. I was texting my girlfriends about it. And I was like, oh, it's called Members Only Palm Beach. It's on Netflix. I don't know how many episodes are out. I've watched a couple of them. The episodes are only like 20 minutes. And I was watching it, and I was like, okay, this is going to be like Housewives, you know what I mean? But it's like a Netflix. So it's like Selling Sunset, or, just like a Netflix show, but it's, it'll be like similar to Housewives. And yes, it is like, and it actually is a really, really nice production. I was kind of shocked at how nice, like, the editing and the production style was. Like, you can tell a lot of money went into this. The ladies, the they look like literally blow up faces, like blow up dolls, but faces. It's off-putting in a way. It's so like uncanny valley. And, you know me, I don't like to talk about women's looks, right? That's a line that I draw, but this is beyond. And it's, it makes me question the ethics of the plastic surgeons, right? Because it's like, or the estheticians. So like a nurse, like I can do not me personally, but like someone like me, you go and you take a course for, I don't know, maybe like $500, maybe like $750 or something like that. And you learn how to inject, but I could potentially inject. Now, one thing you don't know about me is that I don't like to, do injections. If I have to give IM shots at work, I'm literally bribing a coworker to give my shots. But so it could just be a nurse, but you have to, where's like the ethical boundary? Because I think some people will be like, well, they want it, so put it in their face. And for me, I'd be like, no, you look fucked up. Like you look weird. You know what I mean? And that's where like, Dr. Paul and Dr. Terry Dubrow come in, because they had a show for a really long time where they were having to fix all these people's plastic surgery. And even now, like, not to get into too far ahead of our timeline, as we do have a lot to talk about. I don't know why I'm even talking about this, but even now, like Brandi, God love her. I don't know if she's, I'm trying to maintain this like level of not saying what's happening. But we just have to, like, I don't know if she's going through like some kind of like mental break or psychosis, but she, if you just search her online, there's no way you won't find it. She's going through some kind of thing now where she says she has facial parasites, and they're like, this is so serious because there's something wrong with her. I don't know if it's a medical or a, mental health thing. What I think personally is that she had her filler dissolved, but you can't get rid of it. And then it like kind of clumps together. And so it looks like a lump on her face. She actually went to see Dr. Terry Dubrow, and that's what he said it was. And I trust him as a physician. He's never been one to like go on television and like, he takes his oaths and his licenses very seriously, is what I'm saying. But it was just like so weird. But she's like doing all these interviews. She has her own podcast. In fact, she was one of the first Bravo people to ever do a podcast. But she just is out here telling everybody she got some kind of facial parasites. It's so bizarre. I don't know what to think about it. I hope she heals from whatever's wrong with her. Anyway, long story short. What were we talking about? Adrienne. She's had a lot of work done, is what I'm saying. And you will never know because her Instagram is fully filtered. You will never see what her original face looks like, or what her face looks like. Okay, so now we're back to the show. And Kyle and Dana have a play date over at Taylor's. So everybody's going over to Taylor's. And then Kyle's like, oh, well, we can have play dates because our children are all the same age. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because Dana's son is like 18 months, so he's a baby. Portia's like 3, so she's like a toddler. And then Kennedy is getting ready to turn 5, so there's nothing in there. I mean, they can play. I'm not saying, but they're not close to the same age. Anyway, the ladies are chatting, and Taylor asked if Brandi had apologized to Kyle yet, like at the charity dinner. And Kyle's like, we didn't speak. But you know what? I don't know what to say to her. And Brandi making allegations against Kim when she's never met her before is terrible. And the other ladies agree. Like crystal meth. I still can't. I can't. The fact that they're just calling it crystal meth all the time instead of just like meth, it's like so weird to me. Like crystal meth. Like what? Was this when Breaking Bad was new? Like I don't know, but they were like the crystal meth was out of left field. Like, and then Kyle goes, "And who says I'm gonna kill you?" Which is I read it and I forgot. Like I had to pass. So much happened that I had to pass over it. But yeah, she was like, "If you talk about my kids, I'm gonna kill you." That's so weird. And Taylor says, I met up with her for lunch and I could tell that when I saw her, she was just like deflated and she was sad and she felt really bad about what happened. And she felt isolated at that party and she was alone and we weren't including her in the group. But then I was like, why do you call yourself negative names? And she says that she just likes to say things before people do because people always like use things like that against her. And she says, this is where she says that Brandi told her that her ex-husband had been attacking her parenting and it got her really revved up that night because he's been insecure because he's kind of hinting that he's going to come and try to take her kids and take custody because he's got a new wife and a stable home and she's still just a single mom. So I was like, somewhere they say that. And that makes total sense. And maybe Brandi will be able to talk to Kyle and Kim about that. And it was just like, and not that it's right, but it is human to just be like, this set me off. I saw red. I went out of control. I should not have done that. I'm really sorry. That's very human to do that. It's like, we can't all say that we're perfect. I get set off a lot. I got set off yesterday and I don't want to talk about it, but it was just like, I just see, it's like something happened and then you think about it for 5 minutes and then you're like, I'm going to like lose my mind or beat someone, maybe myself, you know what I mean? So everybody kind of does that. And I feel like if Brandi explained herself in that way, she could gain some grace, but will she? I don't know. Let's continue with the episode. So Kyle tells us that when Taylor told her that Brandi has been going through a lot, and it gave her more insight into Brandi's personal life. And she appreciated that, but don't say anything bad about my sister. So Kyle tells the table, look, I don't care. I don't want to be her friend. Okay. Now, Lisa goes over to Muhammad's house. Now, remember Muhammad? We did meet him last year. He threw a party for Lisa, and he's very rich. And that was the dinner party where Kim was introduced to Martin and he drove her home from that, if you remember. So I just read what I wrote. So Jiggy apparently is not feeling well and Muhammad was like, we'll give him some yogurt. What? Why would you, of all the things, why would you give your dog yogurt? I can just like, okay, my dog, he has IBS. Which is like so embarrassing to be like, my dog has IBS. But he does. And so the yogurt, dairy is not something I would ever give him. Also, the dog that we had before this, he had, oh God, I can't remember what, he had some kind of disease where he couldn't eat protein. He couldn't break down protein and it would like, anyway, it would make him really ill. So like we couldn't give him anything with protein. So you know how you normally give like dogs pills and like peanut butter? That's actually how we figured it out. I gave him some peanut butter one time and it made him really sick. But I don't know. That just made me laugh. So he wants to throw a, well, he says surprise party, but it's not a surprise. He wants to throw an engagement party for his goddaughter, Pandora, and Lisa Vanderpump was like, I didn't know she was your godfather or your goddaughter. And she goes, well, just put her in your will then. The fact that she says this stuff, like, not only does she say this stuff like in the confessionals is enough for me, but the fact that she says stuff like that like to people is like so funny. And because he's like, well, how do you know that she's not in the will? And we don't. He's still living, so I guess we'll find out. So Lisa says it's ironic because Pandora is the same age as his current girlfriend. And they're going to do a Arabian Nights themed party with camels. Now, Adrienne has invited all the ladies over for a spa day. And in her home, she has all kinds of real spa equipment like hydrofacials and all these machines. And she's hired a bunch of estheticians, masseuses, um, like the whole 9 yards. Now, I was like, look, they talk about this one machine, this hydrofacial machine. Now, I've had a hydrofacial before, because before my skin looks better now. But I've been taking Accutane for like maybe 6 weeks now. Before that, I was taking some other medicine that cleared my, but for like 5 years, I was having this really terrible acne. And it started like in the middle of COVID. Something was like 4 years. It started like in the middle of COVID, and I thought it was the masks. And so I just didn't do anything about it. And then when I took the mask off, it was like still happening. I don't know if it was like, I have it narrowed down to it's probably just like a perimenopausal symptom now. But I have spent so much money on all these kind of facial things because I'm like, well, maybe this will work and maybe that'll work. Nope, just get on some kind of medication. I don't know why I didn't go to the doctor 4 years ago. I guess it just had to get really bad. But anyway, I was thinking like, I wonder if these are just like old machines that Paul's office had and she just has access to them, or if he gets like a big discount. I was just like, to have this in your home, like for always is wild. Like, are you doing that to yourself, or do you make this girl come over every time? Just seems weird. Like, how busy are you? That I understand maybe like that somebody comes over to your house and gives you a blowout, like once a week or something, but to come over and do a facial, so weird. Anyway, Bernie is doing desserts, and the desserts have like gold flakes on them. And so then Kyle comes over and she's like, oh my God, only Adrienne would have gold desserts. The other thing I wrote down was this is the third event that Adrienne has hosted in her home, because she had that dinner party for the first episode where we watched Camille's sitcom. And then she had that barbecue. And now she's having this. It's like, is Adrienne the only one that's like hosting events? Or maybe she's like the most neutral, that everybody feels comfortable there, so they have to have it there. I don't know. It just seemed weird. Kyle arrives first, and Adrienne tells us that she wasn't at game night, but maybe she had been, it wouldn't have gotten so out of hand. She says Brandi is outspoken, but deep down she's a good person. And Taylor arrives, and she just says, I just walked right in your door. Which is one thing that actually bothers me. Which obviously it's like they're filming, so production is there. There's all kinds of people there, so it's not like you have to worry about a rando walking in, right? Because there's like people everywhere, and it's obviously like, oh, we're supposed to film now, so let me just go over to your house. But it's just, to me, it's very strange. It's strange both when they walk in and also when they stand there and wait for 20 years. I don't know. It's just awkward. I also am an awkward, like, saying hi and goodbye. For me, I would love to do just like an Irish goodbye everywhere I go. like you just don't see me anymore. I hate saying goodbye. I also hate arriving. I just want to show up and then like leave unannounced. And apparently Dana was already there. We didn't get to see her arrive. It's so weird. It's so weird also. Like, why are we always showing people when they arrive? I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's like, oh, this person has entered the stage. But then why didn't we get Dana entering? It's just like she just appears. Okay, all the ladies are arriving. And of course, Kim arrives last. And Kyle is like, well, she's like happy because she didn't know if Kim was even going to show up this time. And then her and Kim sneak out to the backyard and they start jumping on the trampoline. And Kyle says it reminded her of when they were kids, and she was like really happy about jumping on the trampoline. And Kim is being so weird. I can't even just like describe. She's in her confessional and she was like, I was bouncing on the trampoline. Like, babe, we see you. You don't have to describe what you're doing. And then she says, but Kyle thought it was childish. No, in fact, she didn't. She just told us that she liked it and it reminded her of your childhood. And this is where their relationship is so messed up, because why are you just assuming that Kyle thinks it's childish? You know what I mean? Like, you're making assumptions on how she feels without asking her. And the assumption is wrong. And then you're getting your feelings hurt over something that you made up in your own head. That's messed up. Anyway, Brandi shows up, and then she says when Adrienne thought when Adrienne invited her to this event, she thought that she'd rather break her other leg than go hang out with Kim and Kyle. But she felt like it was important to show Adrienne that she was going to show up for her. Okay. And then it just goes to like a reaction of all the ladies, like seeing that Brandi has arrived. And again, they're excluding her. It's so strange. Like, you know that you're excluding her made her lash out, but yet you're continuing to do it. I don't know. It just seems strange. Adrienne also has a red light therapy machine. I'm like, whoa, babe, you're way ahead of your time. I have one of those red light face masks. I haven't used it in a long time. I didn't know if it would interfere with all the other shit that I'm doing. But anyway, so Brandi tells us that she basically, her plan was just to do treatments on Adrienne's dime, by the way. Let's never forget, who's paying for all this. But just to do some treatments where she could be alone and not have to talk or interact with anyone. So you just are there to get free beauty treatments, and you're there for Adrienne. Okay, whatever. Kyle is talking to Kim, and Kim basically says that she's going to be ignoring Brandi because anyone that would talk about her like that isn't worth her time. She tells us that she doesn't want to look at her, has nothing to say to her, doesn't think she's cute, and has a dirty mouth like a sewer. Okay. And then they show this really awkward scene of Camille just like getting food, and she's like, I think I'll have a sandwich. And she'd be like, and some pineapple. It's like, what? What was this? Is this a filler? That everyone is getting treatments, and Lisa Vanderpump tells us that she's never seen anything like this spa that Adrienne has in her house because nothing like this exists. And she's like, she had all this right across the street and she never told me about it. So then Adrienne goes to check on Brandi, and she's like, well, you're very serene today. Would you be maybe think that you should talk to Kyle? And Brandi says, yeah, you know what? Let me relax for a little bit and I'll definitely go talk to her. But I just need you to know that there is also a fear of rejection as well. And Adrienne says, look, you know, when we all get together, there's a lot of tension right now. And, it's like bad for everybody. And Brandi's like, okay, I get you. I'll take care of it. So then Lisa and Camille are talking. And Camille says that she's bringing on a new therapist to work with her kids, not someone that is forced on her by the court system or hired by her ex. And Lisa asks how the kids are doing. And basically, it seems like her son was not doing very well. And Camille says that, but he's better now because she has him in one place. And this is where, like, I'm assuming living with her is what she's talking about, where all his friends are and all the activities that he normally likes. So he's starting to do better. So what I'm gathering from this is that while they were going through this process of divorce, which remember, this is like a year, like not even a year, whenever the Tonys were, I don't know what time of year the Tonys come on till like Easter. He's already married, you know what I'm saying? So, but what it sounds like is like he, forced the kids to go spend the summer with him. And so in New York, because he's also doing the play. And so Camille went and lived in their Hamptons home, and that's where she was like living so she could be close to the kids. And it was just like this back and forth thing. But now that they're in LA and in their childhood home, it's getting a little bit better. So Lisa is now teasing Kyle, who's getting a massage. And Adrienne comes in because they're just kind of hanging out, and Kim's in there too. And Adrienne comes in and tells Kyle, Brandi really wants to talk to you later. And Kyle says, well, she needs to apologize to Kim first. So then Adrienne goes to find Brandi to maybe try to get her to talk to Kim. And then she's like, Kim's like avoiding you, and it's really awkward. So maybe first steps are to say you're sorry to Kim about insinuating that she's on drugs. And Brandy's like, but they insulted me first. Why am I the only one taking blame for everything that happened that night? And Adrienne's like, I know, I understand how you feel, but to say she was on crystal meth, that's pretty harsh. So maybe you should lead with that. So now we go over to Kyle and Lisa and Kim. And Kyle's like, well, are you going to go talk to Brandi? And Kim's like, no, I'm not going to give in to a pariah. And I don't like conflict. And I can't even believe Adrienne would let her in this house. Someone who talks that way. And she has decided that she would even acknowledge her. So Lisa's like, well, what if she apologizes? And Kim's like, well, she needs to apologize to Kyle first. And so Adrienne is trying to convince Brandi that she needs to apologize at all. And Brandi tells us that she doesn't think Adrienne has all the information because she feels like everybody is taking Kim and Kyle's side, which they are because they don't know you. But maybe Adrienne does kind of know her. And so that's a little bit more hurtful to her. She tells her that there was bad behavior on both sides and that Brandi has her triggers and Kyle had her triggers, but it's not fair that Brandi is the only one that is being forced to apologize. So then Kyle tells Kim, like, hey, did you know that Brandi overheard us talking about her and you saying that you didn't want her on our team? And Kim is like, well, I would never say something like that. Let's re-roll that beautiful bean footage, babe. Like you did say that. And she said, I probably just said that I wanted Camille on my team because I love Camille. And it's like, okay, clearly I understand. She probably doesn't remember that night because she was on drugs. Let's be honest. She did say she was taking new anxiety medicine. Okay. So who knows? I'm not saying she was on crystal meth. What I'm saying is she was probably mixing prescriptions and doesn't remember is what I'm saying. But yeah, that's the thing. And I think Brandi has got it clear. It's like all these people are just gaslighting it to say Brandi just jumped up, said she was a whore, called Kyle a bitch, and then, said she was going to kill everybody and said Kim was doing crystal meth when that's not what happened at all. It was like this systematic, like mean girl bullying that led Brandi to start lashing out. And so, wow, Brandi should never have like taken it that far. She should have just excused herself. What she should have done is once they started excluding her when they got to the games portion before the bitch, she should have just sat there and used her best acting modeling to just single tear over this one, because that's where people could see on her left eye, single tear. And then she could just be like, you know what? I think I'm actually not wanted here and I'm just going to go. And then she could get up and have no crutch, right? Because, and that would have made her look even more pitiful. And then all these people would have been falling over backwards to try to make her feel better. But she didn't do it like that. She can't think far enough ahead. Missed opportunity there, I tell you. All right. So outside, Brandi says, hold on. Okay. So outside, Brandi says, she was sitting there and she was saying, I don't like Brandi. Well, I was like right in front of her. And that was hard. And Camille and Taylor, who were present during the game night, are sitting right there. And she's like, she attacked my sons. And you know what? I honestly feel like it might be better if I speak to Kyle because I've never met Kim before that night. I've never had a conversation with Kim. And Brandi tells us that she doesn't even think Kim remembers what went down that day. And Kim isn't ready for a discussion about having anything to do with drugs or being inebriated that night. Obviously, she has a problem and you can't reason with crazy. So, well, I just did it, but what I'm saying is she's maybe mixing prescriptions because she had just got a new prescription. I'm not trying to insinuate that she's on drugs or she's mixing drugs with alcohol, but I love the fact that Brandi is just like doubling down now on her being like a crazy drug addict. So Adrienne goes back. I mean, Adrienne's really putting in the work here. She goes back over to Kim and Kyle and she's trying to get Kyle to talk to Brandi, but Kyle is trying to get Kim to talk to Brandi, but Brandi is refusing. And Brandi doesn't want to deal with her anyway, so I don't know. So Adrienne is now pleading to Kyle, and so Kyle's like, okay, I'll go listen to her. And then Kim has the audacity to get mad. She gets mad and starts crying because Kyle is just going to go listen to her apology. And Kyle says, look, I'm not accepting anything. I'm just letting her say what she needs to say. And Kim says, well, I have nothing to say to her. Okay, bitch. So Camille tells us that she understands how hard it is to be the target and that we all make mistakes and Brandi deserves a second chance. But Kim tells us that Kyle is a traitor. Now, and Kyle says that she's not necessarily going to accept her apology. She just wants to hear it and hear what she has to say. And Kim's like, I was defending you that night. Bitch, what? Because she said, bring it on, bitch. You guys jumped on top of her. Oh my God. So now it's just Brandi and Taylor outside. And Brandi says that this is not the stress that she needs right now. And Taylor's like, peace is worth a lot. And in my mind, I thought, then why the fuck are you here? Like, truly, if this is damaging your custody, I would get the fuck out. This is what I don't understand about Housewives, because it's like they get like so wrapped into it. Tamara is the same thing. It's like, if this is damaging the time that you get to spend with your children, I would quit. If somebody said I would lose custody of my child if I stayed on television, you would never see my face again. Like, I would delete all my social media, everything, because that's what's important to me. You know what I'm saying? So why are you here? And Brandi says, when she speaks to Camille, it seems like Camille doesn't want to say anything about anyone. And she gets that. And I'm like, damn, Brandi's really clocking it. This is what I'm saying is Brandi is smart. She totally gets this group dynamic. Now, that doesn't mean she's not, like, her own emotions aren't getting into it. I'm not saying that she's not, like, prey to what's going on. But what I'm saying is, like, she's very smart and she can easily, like, identify the group dynamics. And it's probably has to do with, like, probably being a very young model and having to navigate that world where it could be potentially very dangerous. I feel like we don't talk about this enough. And, I don't think anybody ever says, but just, like, look at Danielle Staub. Obviously she went through some things, related to, like, her lifestyle, trying to make it on her own as a young girl. And all of these people who were models at a young age, Cynthia Bailey, Brandi, I mean, we'll have a ton. They could have all fallen down that hole. But they have different skills where they were able to, like, navigate it, or other, like, family support, which Danielle always obviously doesn't have. Jeez, I can't talk. So, but anyway, I just find it interesting that she's able to just, like, clock things so quickly and understand what's going on very quickly and navigate these new instances where I feel like a lot of other people in any of these situations would crumble. Like, just switch Dana and Brandi and everybody was screaming at Dana. There's no way. she would literally just dust, like in the MCU where they just turn to dust. Dana's not strong as Brandi is. And I like Dana. I'm not saying anything wrong with Dana. But I haven't said a word about Dana being at this party. So if that tells you anything, I mean, this whole fucking day is about Brandi, right? And that's the difference. You get screen time, you get your diamond next year. So now Kyle comes over to say hello. It cuts to commercial break. So Taylor offers Kyle her seat, but she's like, that's okay. Essentially, like, I'm not gonna be here long enough to need to sit. And then you see, like, Adrienne in the background, like, she's like watching to make sure everything's okay. And then Brandi says, okay. So then Kyle pops in a confessional and she's like, I already know what she's gonna say, that we got started off on the wrong foot, blah 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 blah. But that is not what Brandi says. Brandi says, look, this is killing me. What happened the other night? I lost it. I think you guys lost it as well. My trigger's my kids and anything with my children. I just lose my mind, and I did. And your trigger is obviously your sister, and it went bad. And I just felt alone and ganged up on. And I said things that obviously I shouldn't have said. And I don't want it to be like this whenever I see you, not to be able to say hello. Like, we don't need to be best friends, but I don't want us to hate each other. And Kyle's like, well, I don't hate anyone. I get that your kids are your trigger, but you started on my sister before we got to that point, and that's a very serious accusation to make about somebody, crystal meth. And Brandi's like, no, it was after you guys were being mean to me and everything had started. And Kyle says, I wasn't talking about your children. Brandi's like, you can't bring up my kids at all. Okay. Kyle says, I think your kids are beautiful. You're beautiful. Maybe I just should have said that you should have corrected them. So then Adrienne comes up and she's like, hold on. But Kyle continues and she's like, maybe I should just shouldn't have said that to you. But you also said a lot of stuff that you shouldn't. And Brandi agrees. She's like, yeah. So Adrienne says, listen, she didn't mean to attack your child, talking to Brandi. She was just suggesting maybe there was a proper thing to do and maybe you took it the wrong way. Kyle says, look, I appreciate the effort. And we both said things that we shouldn't have said. You said, don't talk about my kids. You don't talk about my sister, especially those accusations. So Brandi wants to make a pact that they just won't bring up each other's triggers. And Kyle says, but I didn't talk about your kids. It's like, okay, you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I was talking about the way you handle it. And Brandi says, well, I wouldn't bring up your parenting, and I'm a single mom, and none of you guys are. And I was like, what the fuck, Kim is? And Kyle goes, no, I have been. And Brandi says, well, my situation is a little different than yours. So then Adrienne jumps in and she's like, it's difficult. And Kyle says, yes, it is difficult. And I'm sure you're a wonderful mom. And I was just talking about an isolated incident and things were heated. And we said a lot of stuff that we didn't mean. Maybe you could apologize to my sister. And Brandi's like, I don't even know her. I met her that night. So then somehow Lisa has walked up and she's like, if you want to make it right, you've got to apologize. Okay, so I want to pause before we move on to the rest. So Kyle came into this conversation thinking that Brandi was going to do one thing, but instead Brandi totally disarms her by being vulnerable and honest and saying, look, I did a lot of terrible things. You did a lot of terrible things too. And let's just wipe the slate clean, make a pact that we're not going to talk badly about the things that upset us and just move forward. And Kyle was very open to that. And I feel like when Taylor told Kyle about Brandi's kid situation and losing custody, I do think that kind of like cracked that shell around Kyle's heart to Brandi. And she was like, I don't want to be a part of that. And maybe she regrets a lot of the actions that I think she could see. We were being mean to her and we were saying that we didn't like her and we were excluding her from our group and just kind of being petty. Kyle understands that. Okay. And so I think she's open to just like moving forward. And this is all this behavior. This is why I have to say, oh, I like Kyle. And then I have to like kind of be like, preface it because it's like, Kyle does do shit like this a lot. And later in the season, she's very judgy. And we'll get on to that. Well, that's the next thing that we'll tackle. But I do feel like she's also not a monster, like she's open to people being honest and vulnerable. And I like that. So, okay. So now we get on. Okay. So Lisa's like, okay, if you want to make it right, you have to apologize. And Brandi is like, you guys don't understand. She sat there and said she didn't like me. She starts tearing up. And I never met her before. And I don't say stuff about people like that I've never met before. So then Kyle and Lisa try to downplay it. And then Kyle admits, like, yeah, that was rude. It was rude how we were acting. And Brandi says, that's uncomfortable. And so Lisa's like, well, just apologize to Kim and sort it out. And Brandi's, again, like, I don't even know her. And Kyle is like, exactly. That's why you should just apologize for what you did. And then Brandi's like, it's not my fault. Babe, you said she did crystal meth. I mean, that's pretty fucked up. So it is your fault. I understand you were in a tough place, but yeah, you have to own the shit that you do, right? So Kyle says, we keep going over and over that again and again. Let's just move forward. And Brandi tells us she feels like she can't win. And when she feels like she's basically, she says she feels like they're gaslighting her to make her the only one that was wrong when it was really like everybody was wrong. So Kyle goes to talk to Kim because she wants them to like all work it out. Like, let's all work it out. Let's just move on. And she goes to tell Kim, like, Brandi's crying. And Kim's like, I don't care. She's such a bitch. That, you know what? The difference between Kim and Kyle is Kim is male centered and Kyle is definitely very female centered. And if someone came up to me, like even if they had said I was doing crystal meth, if someone had came up to me and was like, yeah, but before she said that, you were being mean to her and now she's crying about it, I would be like, oh. I don't know. It's just weird. So Kim's like, I don't care. She's an actress or wants to be. And Kyle's like, well, she might come up and apologize to you. You need to be prepared. And Kim's like, well, then she'll have 2 broken legs. I mean, okay. And then Adrienne comes in and she gives Kyle a hug and she's like, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that. And Adrienne just wants to try to be the peacekeeper and, you know, make everybody happy. She just wants everybody to get along and so they can just, you know, go to parties and have fun and not worry about all this stuff. And Taylor's still outside talking to Brandi and she says that she felt like everybody each of them owned their part in what happened. And Brandi says that she feels like they're going to try to say that it's just her fault, but it doesn't make it okay for the way that they treated her. And Taylor says, well, I think at some point you have to say something about the crystal meth thing because that was way over the top. And Brandi goes, was it? Because I don't know. I mean, she's like, Taylor's like, so Brandi says that she has to go because she has plans. And she tells us she doesn't like plan on bringing Kim or Kyle up to any of the other women because there's no point. And at this point, she's just like washing her hands of the whole situation. And then Brandi and Adrienne are back. So they had all changed and put on all these matching robes. So they're back in the room where Brandi's changing back into her clothes and she's crying to Adrienne and she's like, I don't feel like anybody has my side. And, you know, she lost it too. She was wrong. And Adrienne says the problem is you have to see both sides. And maybe it's just too soon at this point for you and her to talk, which I actually think that's probably the correct. Just give it some time. So then Kyle and Lisa are sitting down and they're talking to Kim while Kim's getting a massage. And Kyle asks her how she feels. And Kim says good. And it's because she doesn't let people that don't matter bother her. But then Lisa's like, well, before Kyle went out there, you were crying, saying that, you know, Kyle was being a traitor. And Kim says, well, I was just thinking that if you guys had done that, I would want an apology from you because you guys matter to me. But somebody who I don't know, they don't matter to me and I don't care. So Kyle said, but you were getting mad at me for going out and listening to what she has to say. Like, basically, like, you're saying it doesn't matter, but why are you mad at me? You know? And Kyle was like, or Kim was like, I was disappointed. And Kyle said, I was just doing it because Adrienne wanted me to. She asked me to hear her out. And Kim says, well, that night I was just protecting you. And Kyle says, and I was protecting you. It wasn't like we were totally innocent that night. Let's be honest. So Kim sits up with this like confused look in her face. And she's like, what are you talking about? And Kyle's like, I'm just saying we weren't sitting there like 2 angels. And Kim says, well, who flies off the handle like that? Seriously. And Adrienne, for some reason, is also there. I don't know how these people walk in and out of these rooms. But Adrienne just says, look, I can tell you what her problem is. She has no filter. She just says what she says. And then she doesn't think about it until after. And then she regrets it. And Lisa's like, well, that's not going to work with me. And Kim's like, she's a tough girl. And Lisa says, well, she didn't look like a tough girl out there. And Kim says, the tears are an act. So that's the end of the episode. Kim was cracking me up. So again, Kyle, reasonable, thinks that maybe they also had a part to play in it and maybe created the situation where Brandi would be lashing out and saying that she does crystal meth. Kyle is just being reasonable. Kim, not being reasonable. Kim is not. She's not going to do anything about Brandi. Dead to her. And we will see where this goes. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had an amazing new year. As always, don't forget to leave a rating and review, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube. And if you are feeling generous, you can leave me some money and buy me a coffee link. You can buy me a coffee. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much and have an amazing week. And we'll see you next time. Bye.